Hello. Okay, great. My name is Ashley Jeffries. I am a social worker at the VA Maryland Healthcare System in the Caregiver Support Program. And our program supports caregivers caring for veterans. That can look a lot of different ways, so we try to normalize that caregivers can kind of run the spectrum of neighbor, friend, family member, and our main mission is to make sure the caregiver is taking care of themselves while taking care of their veteran. And we do that through various resources, supports, services, education, and training opportunities. Opportunities to connect to other caregivers, and connecting to community resources. We can also help navigate the very complex VA system, so it can be helpful to have another point person at the VA to help see what your veteran might be eligible for. And I will hand it over to Belinda.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Belinda Edwards. I am an Elizabeth Dole Hidden Heroes Fellow representing the state of Maryland. What that means is that I care for a veteran, which in this case is my father, who is a Vietnam-era Air Force veteran, Staff Sergeant. And along with him, I also care for my mother. I am their only child. So my platform is that of the sole caregiver. The healthcare system is not made for me, but I hope that I can change it, slowly but surely. Ashley has been a wonderful partner because, stop, she's about to make me cry, so I can't look at you anymore. Ashley and Hillary Wiseman, both of them are social workers. Sorry, this is my fan. Both of them as social workers were helping me with my father, my parents. But in November of 2020, something significant happened. My parents and I were all simultaneously afflicted with COVID. My father was in the hospital for 12 days before he was transitioned to acute rehab. My mother was hospitalized for, I think, 2 days, and then she was discharged. But in the middle of all of that, I was diagnosed with COVID. But 2 days or 3 days after my mother was discharged, I drove myself to the hospital where my father was, and I learned I had COVID pneumonia. This is before the vaccine. So what you see now in my fabulous shoes are the work of 4.5 years of fighting for my life. And Ashley and Hillary were a significant part of that. We've had, from COVID, my parents and I have experienced multiple COVID exposures. My father was knocked out of remission. My mother is now in the moderate stage of Alzheimer's. My father had a stroke in April. I had pneumonia in May. It's been a journey. I have had 2.5 years of physical therapy. I've had cognitive therapy, and the list can go on and on. However, Ashley was here, Hillary was here. The Veterans Caregiver Support Program offered mental health services. They offered guidance. I thank you and Hillary very much for answering my redundant questions, because COVID brain is actually mild cognitive impairment, and I was diagnosed with that as well. And so what you see today is the blessings of God, the help from others who are not family. Unfortunately, extended family is unable to come up, so I really have been doing this alone with the support of others. I thank you so much. I cannot thank you enough for all the work that you've done. I can't look at you. For all the work that you and Hillary have done to find services for me. I've also, before I forget, Hillary and Ashley are the reason why I am an Elizabeth Dole Hidden Heroes Fellow, because they nominated me. The Dole Foundation has offered support for myself and my parents. They have a program called Face the Fight that I want to make sure those of you who are supporting veterans know that there is a significant partnership with veterans, because many die every day unnecessarily. There's also support with the Maryland Department of Veteran and Family Services, which I'm grateful for. So now on your side, what I'm able to do in my role is to work with the state of Maryland in order to provide ideas for services for us. I've also taken advantage of the VSO, the Veteran Support Office, which has helped me understand, along with the VA, what service connection rating means, about aid in attendance. I'm also looking for support to increase my father's service connection rating. And so this is truly a partnership between the two organizations, and I cannot thank them both enough. I'm also appreciative of your organization listening to my ideas when my father was in the hospital, and because daddy needed help, but mommy had a doctor's appointment, I can't be in two places at once. And so just listening to some of my needs, some of the gaps. I'm also grateful for the VA health services, specifically the clinicians who helped me during my father's last stay in the hospital. So thank you for listening. Thank you, caregivers, for all that you do. And if I can leave you with a word of encouragement, I want you to know, think of yourselves as a CEO. And the reason why is because you are managing your business, which is your family. You are managing a program, which could be your family, it could be extended family. Your project at the time would be getting your loved one to a doctor's appointment or getting them care. But think about those transferable skills that you have as a caregiver, and recognize the value that you bring to others.
Thank you, Belinda, so much for sharing that and being brave to share your story, too. Before I kind of jump into my agency that I work for, I wanted to mention something before I forget. I think what's really important that Belinda touched on is that we need collaboration amongst all of the different organizations to help support each other, and that it's a team effort too. But something also, Belinda, that I have really respected about you is that your willingness to use your voice to help make change. Because I think the more we share our caregiver story and our caregiver journey, it makes an impact because it helps personalize the experience that caregivers walk with those who may not have done it or haven't done it yet. And so being honest about the things that caregivers need, we need to hear that. Organizations need to hear that so that we know what direction to go next. And I think that's one of the reasons why I was so excited that Maryland Public Television was putting on this expo today, because on a personal note, I was a caregiver for my mother up until her final days, and I was also supporting my father as he was her, primary caregiver. But while my mother was not a veteran, that caregiving journey is the same. And so watching the things that my father needed has really helped me in the position I'm in now and being able to advocate for the support that caregivers need to be able to fully show up for their loved one that they're caregiving. I know I kind of jumped into all of that, but for those that I haven't gotten a chance to meet today, my name is Lindsay Livingston. I am the Director of Communications, Outreach, and Advocacy for Maryland's Department of Veteran and Military Families, which is a mouthful of a title and title of a department, but our department is a Maryland state agency whose mission is to support veterans, service members, and their families through all of their life transitions. Up until last summer, we were known as Maryland Department of Veteran Affairs, but under the leadership of Governor Moore, legislation was passed last year to change our name to Veterans and Military Families to really help signal to the community that we serve the entire family unit, that we understand that when an individual serves in the military, the whole family serves. I know that on a personal note, my husband is on active duty with the Navy, and we have been doing Navy life for 23 years now. So it has been incredible for me to now work for also my home state of Maryland and be able to be a voice for the military-connected community. But it's very unique here in Maryland to have leadership see the military-connected community and understand some of the challenges that they face. But with our name change, also, to encompass more of that holistic picture of the support, came with it that the Elizabeth Dole Foundation recognized Maryland as they call it a hidden hero state. And this designation really is given, I think we were the first state to actually get this designation. And this means that Maryland has shown it is going above and beyond the call of duty to support this, specifically veterans and military family caregivers. Within Maryland, we have approximately over 150,000 military and veteran caregivers living here in our state. And our department feels a calling to make sure that we give a voice to those caregivers so that they can feel seen and supported and get the services that they need. And one of the other things that I have really appreciated about this designation is also that this designation also recognizes what we call our hidden helpers, and these are youth that serve, military youth that serve often as caregivers. This is something that a lot of people don't know and don't either recognize or understand. But a lot of our military-connected youth often have to carry the burden of caring for their parent who is either a veteran or a service member. And we know stories and individuals of children who are stepping up to help carry the load in the household. And our department was very fortunate this past year to actually have a hidden helper as an intern in our department. She was a senior at Severna Park High School, and she was one of the caretakers in her home for her father, who's a veteran. And her primary role was really to help support her mother, who was caretaking for her father. So that meant helping with packing lunches for younger siblings. That meant as soon as she got her driver's license, she was driving siblings to sporting outings, play dates, you name it. If mom had to take dad overnight to a hospital, she was on duty. And these are the type of things that a lot of people don't know about our youth. I can speak also on a personal note that, when my spouse is deployed, my oldest son does pick up a lot more because, our family needs have shifted, and the whole family is called to step in and fill in those gaps. So I think what I have really taken today, after talking with so many of you and some of the other organizations, is that I'm very grateful that more people are having these conversations about some of the challenges that caregivers face, because I really don't feel like people were normalizing the conversation as much as they are now. And hopefully by continuing to have these conversations, organizations will be able to come in and help provide the support that's needed. So I think, one thing I would leave also, kind of like Belinda was saying, to the caregivers in the room, even though you may feel like people don't see what you do every day, there are a lot of us that do. And there are a lot of us that do understand that making a doctor's appointment for your own self comes with a lot of logistics. And Belinda, as you were saying, with one parent in the hospital and the other parent needing to go to a doctor appointment, and how do you know where to put your time or who to go with? That I want you to know that there are a lot of us that do get it, and that we are advocating and we are sharing your stories, and we are hoping and working hard and advocating hard that more people understand, and that those change makers understand it as well. I feel like we still have a couple more minutes. I kind of talked for a little bit. I can get very passionate about this topic, but I don't know if either one of you, if there was anything else that you wanted to add.
I will just echo some of what you said and revisit Belinda's story. Belinda, I'm glad you called the caregiving role you're a CEO, because you are so gracious in giving credit to organizations, but really it's it's your voice that gets the attention and does the advocacy and goes to the appointments. And I don't have enough fingers for what Belinda does, and she knows that. But it starts with you, and you're doing a lot of work to make change. And your voice helps focus our voices. So there's advocacy you can do, there's advocacy Lindsay can do, but we all are impacting each other. And again, to comment on the importance of collaboration, but also on a more micro scale, your voice is important in the room with your care recipient. Speak up. Your voice is important. You're an essential part of the care team. Elizabeth Dole has a campaign for inclusive care, which we had we trained many of our staff members a few years ago to really recognize that it's important that the caregiver is in the room for some of those appointments, if it's appropriate, and to also advocate for yourself to be in the room for some of those appointments. Because your veteran or your care recipient might look okay on the outside, but maybe there's some cognitive things happening and we're not going to remember. So you're a very important piece of the puzzle, and foundational in all of it.
The campaign for collaborative care has been vital for the support that I have been able to provide to my father. As I mentioned before, I cannot thank the clinicians enough for listening, for hearing me, and for taking my suggestions at heart, because they are exhausted and they may miss a nonverbal cue that I see. And so it is vital, as Ashley and as you have said as well, that you have to fight for your veteran, you have to fight for your loved one, and don't be ashamed to speak up. And if you don't have a care partner, change. We are in a wonderful place where there are multiple hospitals. But for me, for the veterans, I really appreciated the geriatric practice, and unfortunately it has been disbanded. But the geriatric practice really took the time to understand the whole of body for my father, and I miss it. And so that's one thing that I hope that we can return to in some cases. But as the geriatric practice has disbanded, now the new physicians that I'm working with, I'm very appreciative of their time as well and their expertise and the fact that they do listen.
Yeah, that brings up a really good point of what caregivers bring to the appointments is extremely important, because the caregiver, as you all know, is the one day in and day out with the loved one, and they know exactly what's going on. And I think especially in the veteran and military family space, what we call invisible wounds, the PTSD, the panic attacks, those things that often come, especially with combat service, those may not show up in an appointment with a doctor. But we need our physicians to listen to the caregiver in the room with the service member saying, no, he, she, they have night terrors. No, we can't go to a grocery store because they shut down because the lights are so bright and it triggers a traumatic event. So I think exactly what you're saying of, I hope you're encouraged here that your voice is very important and you need to keep speaking up and keep sharing what's actually going on. Because just like you both mentioned, there's so much that happens outside of that office room,
And I also want to add, for those that are the sole caregiver, not just an only child like myself, I want to make sure that your space that you hold, it is vital. We are in a position to make change in the healthcare system because the healthcare system was built on larger families. And as we know, our families are getting smaller. This is now the time to raise your voice and to highlight some of the gaps that currently exist. In partnership with the state of Maryland, what I've been able to do is to highlight the fact, for instance, the VSO, the Veteran Support Offices, are opened Monday through Friday during business hours. Well, I am too young to retire. I have to work. And so therefore, I'm taking time off work in order to go to the VSO. Sometimes we have a successful meeting and sometimes we don't. But again, I'm speaking up, they are listening. We're trying to figure out what to do in order to close that particular gap. And that's one of many things that people who may have an additional support system that is your immediate family or even friends. In my case, my friends are doing the same thing I'm doing, so they really, meaning caring for their parents, so they can't really help me all the time. And so I am in a role where I can see more of the gaps that others who have support may or may not see. So please speak up. It is vital.
And you mentioned the VSO office open Monday through Friday. it's kind of how the hospital system works too. The clinics are Monday through Friday. It's not necessarily conducive to someone who works 40 hours a week or works, night shift and wants to sleep during the day. It's complex. And having, if I can mention one thing that you take away is there's always someone that's willing to listen. So at the VA, we have the obviously Caregiver Support Program, which I'm with. Every veteran who's enrolled at the VA has a primary care social worker who can help navigate the healthcare system and advocate for access to telehealth, home-based primary care, working with caregivers facing these challenges, these barriers to accessing care, and work through that with you. And just a quick note on your voice and the appointment. That can be a very intimidating space for some folks, not everybody, but for some folks it can be very intimidating. And just to echo what Lindsay was saying, you are the subject matter expert on the person that you're with, so at least take that with you, that you might be the expert in the healthcare and managing the medications and all of this other stuff, but I'm an expert on how that's going to impact our life at home together, and what years and years of observations that you have. So it really is an important perspective to bring.
And if I may add, the VA also has caregiver support programs that are after hours, and so that's helpful as well. And also the pharmacy is open on Saturday. So that has definitely helped me when I can't get to the pharmacy during the week or even talk to a pharmacist during the week. Some of those changes have definitely helped me. Thank you for the partnership. Thank you for the partnership, because we're better together. Thank you, MPT. Thank you, MPT, for this opportunity as well.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.